go watch plays like Oedipus Rex and Antigone, and he realized that plays had things in common with each other. But we're going to read his book, The Poetics, and he's going to define the epic for us again. Now, since the earliest 20th century, we've had some epic poems that are not really true, or we've had some epics that are not really true poems, and they're certainly not really true epics. How many of you have watched stories like The Lord of the Rings? Okay, we have 3 books, and so we have 3 movies. Are they national in scope about Middle Earth? Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they
Yeah, they are. Do they have a hero? Does he visit hell? Okay, now think about Frodo when he goes to the end of the point and it's telling him to keep the ring. Okay. Yeah, so he has a journey to the underworld. So y'all, they have very much epic qualities. Star Wars. Now I was young when Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6 came out, and then a little bit later, before your time, episodes 1, 2, and 3 came out. And so Star Wars is considered to be a modern day epic with 6 adventures. A 7th one is coming. Did y'all know that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have you seen the trailer? The movie posters? Okay, so it looks really, should be interesting. Who owns the franchise today? What company? Disney. My 2 sons think that's horrible, that they're going to run it, and I said, look, it can't get much worse than Jar Jar Binks. So, okay. Now, we also have to say that epic poems have certain things in common with each other. So let's look at these 12 commonalities. These are the epic characteristics. First, they're long narrative poems on a great and serious subject. So what is the subject of the Iliad?
The Trojan War.
Okay, the Trojan War. They're written in an elevated style and they use elevated language. Were they a little hard to understand? Okay, so y'all remember that people like Shakespeare, by the time he was 7 or 8 years old, he already could read Latin and Greek. And by the time he was 12, he had already read the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid, Ovid's Metamorphoses. He had already read them all in either the ancient Greek or the ancient Latin. Y'all, we can't do that today. We have too many things like Twitter and Facebook and email and computer games. We are too soft, okay? So we don't teach those kind of things. So I want y'all to realize is that these things were taught to people in other times, even as recent as Shakespeare's time. Children would have read these stories. So I know all of you think I tortured you this summer and that you had to read these, but at least I didn't make you read them in Greek. And when we read the Aeneid in the spring, I'm not going to make you read it in Latin. Okay? Now, they're centered on a hero, so we've already talked about our heroes. Were these heroes kind of quasi-divine, godlike characters? Okay, so Percy Jackson, what kind of a character is he? What is he called? He's a demigod. So he has a father, Poseidon, and an earthly mother. So we have gods, goddesses, demigods, and demigoddesses, and then we have heroes. Okay. So, the hero is a figure of great national importance, and he represents a culture's heroic ideal. Okay, so we look at Odysseus. What were some of his good qualities? Okay, he was cunning. He was what? Okay, he was a tactician. He had a good strategy, didn't he? He was the one that thought, let's build this big horse. We're going to put people inside of it. We're going to roll it into the city. And y'all, I really wanted a great big one. Okay, this one probably cost me 30 or 40 euros. That's a lot of money. Okay, the big one I wanted was like this big. It was like 500 or 600 euros, which would be about $700, $800. But I could have used it in class and written it off as an educational expense. But instead, I have to play with this one that's little bitty. Okay. But think about it, y'all, the men that climbed inside of this horse. Now, one of your fun essays you're going to do in a couple of weeks, you're going to actually have to describe what it was like to climb up inside of that horse and wait. There was no bathroom. There was no restaurant. There was no air conditioning. So it's kind of fun. But y'all, Odysseus, he was the one that thought of that. Was that clever? So have you ever heard the expression, do not accept gifts from Greeks who bear gifts? Yeah, beware of Greeks who bear gifts. That's absolutely right. Okay, our next characteristic, the setting of the poem is large in size, maybe worldwide or even larger. Now y'all think to the ancient Greek world. They didn't know about the United States. We weren't there yet. The continents had not been discovered. So, as far as the known world, these stories do fit the idea of the worldwide. Okay? Who went to Hades? Okay, if you've gotten, yes, Odysseus does in the Odyssey. And who does he see there? His mother's there. So it meant his mother died. Now remember, y'all, they don't believe in heaven and hell like the Judeo-Christian worldview does. So your afterlife was Hades. And he was the god of the underworld. Okay, Hades was. Okay. And so Odysseus sees his mother. Who else does he see down there?
Dead people.
Well, which ones?
People that died during battle.
Yes, a lot of the heroes who died in the war are going to be down there. So that's how he realizes that they're dead, because he didn't realize they had died. The action involves superhuman deeds in battle. So do we have any superhuman deeds that happen in the Odyssey, the Iliad?
Yes.
Okay, Michelle, give us one.
Well, like when Achilles, he came and he was, it was after his friend died and he came out to war. He would try to kill a lot of people, and Apollo would like transport them to another place so that they wouldn't get hurt.
Okay, so the gods and goddesses were interfering, weren't they? So moving people literally from place to place in the battle to protect them, kind of like the chessboard. Okay? So yes, we have some superhuman things that happen during the battle. Now look at the next one. The gods take an interest or active role. So Michelle, her example just there showed some of the gods and goddesses coming down and taking sides. Zeus told them not to, but each one had their...
They can't even keep out of the games afterwards. Like
That's right.
In the Athenian camps.
So y'all, do you see how these Greek gods and goddesses are so competitive and they want to win so badly that they go against Zeus and they get so totally involved that it burns a lot of times the things that are happening. Now, it includes catalogs of heroes, weapons, ships, spoils, etc. So what are catalogs?
A long list.
Okay, they're long lists. How many of those long lists did you read and you're like, oh my goodness, why would they put this in here? Why would they put it in there?
Because it's their history.
Okay, y'all remember what I said on the PowerPoint, that this was the Bible of the Greeks? It taught them about heroes. Y'all, it showed their history. How many of you read a history book? And the history book listed all the kinds of weapons used in the battle. All the battles, all the Civil War. We have the Battle of Gettysburg. We have the Battle of this. We have the Battle of Appomattox. We have there's a whole list of battles. So y'all, you're used to that. And what are these called? Catalogs. Okay? Look at the next one. The hero invokes a muse. Now, what is a muse? It's the god or goddess, the guiding spirit. So, does he invoke the muse at the beginning of the story? Absolutely. And then the hero starts where? The epic starts in the middle. So, when we pick up the Trojan War, does anybody know what year number it is? It's year 9. So, it's been going on for 9 long years. Just think of all the poetry we got to skip, because we started in the middle. Thank God. Okay? And a true epic will have 24 books. So if you look at your books, did they have 24 books? Okay. Now we have some mock epics and epics that have been written later in periods of time. The primary epic, if you'll look down now, you need to know the 3 kinds of epics. The primary epic are the 4 kinds. It's the national hero, like the Iliad, the Odyssey, Beowulf, and Gilgamesh, or Gilgamesh, however she pronounced it last year. Yes,
Would Antigone be counted as an epic?
no, Antigone is a play. Okay. A secondary epic, these are imitations of primary epics. The Aeneid, you're going to read the Aeneid in the spring. Paradise Lost, the Divine Comedy, you will read that next year, the Divine Comedy. Now, a mock epic, this is one that kind of makes fun of the epic. This is an elaborate form of the genre and applies it to a commonplace subject. The Rape of the Lock. Y'all know that's a really good mock epic. And the Victorian, I can't remember quite which time period, I think it's Victorian. This young lady has beautiful hair. And this guy comes up with a pair of scissors and cuts off one of her locks. So there's an entire epic written about him cutting off her curl. Isn't that important? And he makes it seem worldwide monsters. Okay, I mean it's horrible. Okay. We're going to read one when you're in 10th grade, when you read Chaucer. Back there where the Knight's Tale is. I love Heath Ledger and stuff like that. But, okay, so the Knight's Tale, Chaucer, the Canterbury Tales. We're going to read one about Chauncelette. He is a rooster, and he can sing beautifully. And something tragic happens to him. And so they make a mock epic out of this rooster. And Dame Pertolette, his #1 chicken. He has a whole slew of hens, so he has a harem. And so see how it makes fun of human characteristics by using animals. Okay? Then the last one is the epic spirit. So Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, these would have the epic spirits because it's a grand story told on a grand scale. It has a trip to hell or to something like hell. It has superhuman monsters. My favorite was the scene where the trees all came to life, remember, and saved Sam and all of them. You know, there's some wonderful monsters in Lord of the Rings. And so those are your superheroes, superhumans, okay, the supernatural. Okay, so there's how many epic characteristics? 12. So learn all 12 of them. You're actually going to write an essay where you will have to prove that the Iliad and the Odyssey both are epics, and you will use your 12 characteristics. Okay, you need to know the 4 kinds of primary epics. Now let's look at the oral formulaic tradition. Remember earlier we talked about how did Homer tell his stories? Well, he told them orally. So you will notice that the storytellers are called bards or minstrels. The word rhapsody literally means to stitch songs together or to compose verses. And when you study Beowulf, we're going to continue that kind of storytelling with stories stitched together from history. Okay, so flip over to the next page. This is a good bonus question. How many lines of poetry? Well, the Iliad has 15,693 lines of torture. Okay? And the Odyssey was a little shorter, 12,110. So those make good bonus questions on tests. So highlight those or put a star by it so you'll get it. Now, over on page 23 and 24, you have some information about Homer. You are responsible for all of this information to actually write a paragraph about Homer on your first test. So do be sure you know the information about Homer. Now, a lot of this information we've already talked about, that some scholars believe it to be one man, other scholars believe it to be a compilation of stories from many men. His style falls into the category of minstrel or balladeer, just like we talked about. He is called the father of Greek literature. He is considered to be probably the world's greatest poet, regardless of what you think after reading it. Hopefully, after we finish discussing them, you'll find it a little bit more interesting. Now, who is the father of history? That information was given to you in this story. Okay, Reagan?
It starts with an A, right? Starts with an A. I just can't
Start with
remember.
an H.
H.
Okay, it's down in about the 5th paragraph down. His name is Herodotus.
Yes.
His time period was 484 to 425 BC. He's called the father of history. He actually is the one that has given us the commensurate date that most authorities will use to date Homer. He says that he believes he lived around 850 BC. You'll notice at the top it shows born around 900 BC. Herodotus thinks it was more about 850. His birthplace was Greece, and he died around 850. So he was how old? About 50, yes.
Oh, no, okay.
Okay. Now, the location of Homer's birth cannot be pinpointed, but we think that he maybe had lived in Ionia, or maybe Samaria, or on the coast of Asia Minor in the island of Clois. There's some basic reasons for these claims. The dialect of the original Greek would indicate where maybe he actually came from, but we really don't know. And if you'll look over on the next page, the last paragraph, Plato tells us that in his time, many believed Homer was the educator of all Greece. Since then, Homer's influence has spread far beyond the frontiers of Hellenes. He has spread all around the world. So the Iliad and the Odyssey have provided not only seeds, but fertilizer for all of the other arts and sciences in Western culture. So be sure you read over that if you did not read that before and take some notes. Okay, look at page 25, reading number 4. You are going to do readings. I don't guess you have any readings for this next week, but